Gemini, the last day of June brings a warning you need to hear. Something is shifting beneath the surface. You may not see it yet, but you've likely felt it. The restless energy, the inexplicable tension, the sense that something essential is stirring just beyond your reach. As we approach the final day of June, this subtle current will rise into a wave, carrying with it a message that refuses to be ignored. This isn't just another astrological alignment. It's a rare convergence of cosmic forces, Jupiter and Saturn forming a doorway, Pluto whispering to the chambers of your heart. And for you, Gemini, a sign of curiosity and duality, this moment is less about choice and more about truth, a truth you've long suspected, hidden in the pauses of your conversations, in the dreams you never dare to speak aloud. This is your invitation to listen more deeply than ever before, not with your mind, which is always quick and clever, but with your spirit, which knows what your intellect cannot grasp. In today's video, I'll walk with you through this message of warning, not to scare you, but to awaken you. What's coming is not to be feared, but embraced. It's a moment of profound clarity. If you have the courage to meet it, and if this resonates with you, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. It helps us continue offering guidance to those navigating these hidden thresholds. Let's begin the journey together. Gate 1, the voice you've been ignoring, when the other you speaks across time. Gemini, let's begin with a truth you've always carried within you, though you may have buried it beneath the noise of your ever-moving thoughts. There's another version of you, an alternate self, who made the courageous decisions you were once too afraid to make. And in the quiet hours leading to the last day of June, that version of you is trying to speak. You might have already noticed strange dreams lately, or sudden, vivid memories that seem to belong not to your past, but to a life you almost lived. You may feel nostalgia for places you've never been, or longing for conversations that never happened. This is no coincidence. The cosmos is opening a portal, and your parallel self, the one who took risks, followed intuition, and chose freedom over familiarity, is reaching across time. For Gemini, who thrives on multiplicity, this moment is not just about making a decision. It's about meeting yourself. All your life, you've worn different masks with ease, adapting, shifting, playing the roles needed in every room you enter. But what if one of those roles, the one you barely dared imagine, wasn't a mask at all, but your truest face? This version of you didn't hold back when the heart whispered. They didn't choose a job that made the most sense, but the one that lit their soul on fire. They didn't hesitate to say yes to the unknown, even when it trembled beneath their skin. And now, they're calling you home. This isn't fantasy. It's a spiritual reality, and the signs have already started showing up. That sudden emotional reaction to a song you hadn't heard in years. The way a stranger's passing words felt like a message written just for you. Or how a small choice, what street you walked down, what moment you paused to look at the sky, brought an unexpected sense of déjà vu. You see, Gemini, the universe knows you won't be convinced by blunt force. You need synchronicity. You need to feel the message in the subtleties of your environment. And right now, everything around you is aligning to deliver that message. It's time. Time to stop rehearsing the life others expect of you and start stepping into the life you've always dreamed of. But here's the part that makes this moment so powerful. You won't have endless time to decide. There's a window, a precise, divine sliver of opportunity. The last day of June isn't just a date. It's a celestial doorway. For a few hours, the veil between who you are and who you could be will thin. The Gemini mind, so often split between possibilities, will experience something rare, clarity. You'll know, without a doubt, what you must do, but the knowing will pass quickly if you don't act. This window is not meant to stay open. If you hesitate, if you try to rationalize or seek external validation, the chance will dissolve, and the life that could have been yours will fade back into the realm of maybe. This is the message your alternate self is delivering. I'm still here. I've been building a life of meaning, love, and freedom, but I cannot live it for you. You have to choose it. One Gemini woman I once worked with, let's call her Lila, came to me months after missing a similar opportunity. She had felt the signs, just as you may be feeling them now. The restless energy, the sense of something greater calling her forward. but she delayed. She told herself she wasn't ready, that the timing wasn't right, and then the feeling vanished. When she spoke to me later, her voice broke as she said, "It was like the magic disappeared. I didn't even realize how ready I actually was until the moment passed." But the good news for her and for you is that life offers rare second chances, and this is one of them. This isn't about regret. It's about recognition. Recognizing that the version of you who lives without fear has been patiently waiting for you to catch up. That the dreams you set aside weren't foolish. They were simply waiting for the right energy to unfold. And now, the cosmic gears are turning. Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are orchestrating a deeply personal intervention. The themes of courage, transformation, and emotional vulnerability are being magnified and are aimed directly at your soul's evolution. You may already feel like something is off, a nagging dissatisfaction with the safe routines you built. Relationships that once felt comforting now feel stagnant. Work that used to energize you may now feel like it's draining your spirit. These are not random emotions. They are spiritual messages coded in feeling. Your soul is saying, you are not meant to live small. Gemini of all the signs, you are gifted with vision, an ability to see possibilities others cannot. But that vision becomes a burden when you never act on what you see. And now, you are being asked not just to imagine another future, but to walk toward it with trembling legs if necessary. Your alternate self, your cosmic twin, is not better than you. They are simply more expressed. And they're here to help, not to haunt. You don't have to become someone else to access this life. You just have to become more of who you truly are. This is your soul's rehearsal ending. The real performance is calling. And it doesn't need perfection, it needs presence. It needs you to be there fully when the moment arrives, when you feel the pull. On the night before the last day of June in a dream, or in a moment of sudden emotional clarity. Pause. Don't rush. Let yourself feel it. And then say yes, even if you don't know where it leads. Especially if you don't. Because Gemini, the version of you who chose freedom, is holding out their hand. All you have to do is take it. Gate 2, the cost of playing it safe. How security became your silent cage. Gemini, let's pause and look back, gently, without judgment, at the choices you've made in the name of safety. How many times have you talked yourself out of something your heart longed for, simply because it didn't fit the image of stability others expected from you? How many dreams have you quietly buried beneath layers of logic and reason, telling yourself, it's not the right time, or worse, what if I fail? You've always been seen as adaptable, fluid, bright, endlessly curious. But within that flexibility, there lies a shadow, the tendency to split yourself in two. One part charges toward possibility. The other pulls you back with questions, doubt, and a desire to stay in control. And so you stay in the middle. Almost. Always almost. But Gemini, let's be honest, that middle ground has become a quiet prison. You weren't born to hover in limbo. You weren't meant to live a life of polite routines and watered down joy. You are here to be electric, alive, to explore all the contradictions within you and let them dance freely. The cost of playing it safe is subtle. At first, it looks like comfort. You take the job that pays just enough. You stay in a relationship that's not bad. You keep your days filled but your soul underfed. And years pass. Not tragically, not dramatically, just silently. The sparkle fades slowly enough that you don't notice, until one day you wake up and ask, is this it? And that question, that whisper, is the beginning of awakening. In one of my sessions, I met a Gemini man named Theo. Brilliant, witty, always the life of the party. But when the laughter faded and the guests had gone, he would sit alone and feel the ache. He had the dream job, the beautiful apartment, the curated life that looked like success. But inside, he was starving. Theo once told me, I've made every smart choice. I did everything that was expected. But somewhere along the way, I forgot what I wanted. He had been living someone else's idea of a good life. Gemini, I share a story not to make you afraid, but to reflect something you might recognize. Because your mind is brilliant. It can justify anything. It can make the smallest life seem expansive if you decorate it well enough. But your soul always knows the difference. And now it's time to reclaim it. This cosmic moment, the rare alignment of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, is asking you a difficult but liberating question. Do you want to continue building a life that looks right on the outside, or one that feels right on the inside? Because the two are no longer aligned. The performance cannot continue. Your soul is staging a rebellion. Gemini, you are a sign of movement, of air, of thought made flesh. You're meant to change, to evolve, to explore. But safety has disguised itself as love in your life. You've been taught that security is the ultimate goal, that to be grounded is to be grown. But for you, grounding doesn't mean stillness. It means being rooted in your truth, not stuck in your fear. Let's talk about fear. Not the dramatic kind that screams and throws up red flags. The quiet kind, the fear of disappointing others, of being too much, too loud, too unpredictable, too emotional. So you shrink bit by bit. You silence your needs. You choose compromise instead of passion. You say yes when you mean maybe. And each time you do, you tell your soul, wait a little longer. Not yet. Be patient. But Gemini, your soul is tired of waiting. It's no longer satisfied with half-lives and conditional love. It no longer wants you to dim your curiosity to keep the peace. It wants a life where you don't just survive the days. You feel them, where you wake up not with dread, but with the sweet ache of anticipation. The warning that's coming on the last day of June is not punishment. It's permission to leave behind what is almost right and claim what is fully aligned. But to do that, you must acknowledge the emotional cost of staying safe. Have you ever cried after a meeting that went well, and you couldn't explain why? Have you ever felt empty after a celebration that should have made you happy? Have you ever envied people who chose wild, uncertain paths? Not for their success, but for their bravery? That's your soul grieving the life you didn't let yourself live. But it's not too late. The doors are still open. For now, you must begin to tell yourself the truth. The job isn't enough. The relationship doesn't reach your depths. The version of you you're showing the world is a careful construction, not a raw reflection. And that's okay. Awareness is the first key to freedom. The moment you admit what no longer works, you create space for what might. And that might, Gemini, is where your magic lives. You don't need to burn your life down. You need to light it up. Bring curiosity into forgotten corners. Ask questions. Why do I stay? Who benefits from me playing small? What version of me have I hidden to keep the peace? And most importantly, what would I do if I believed I deserve more? Let the discomfort of these questions rise. Don't push it away. Sit with it. Let it burn. Because on the other side is clarity. And clarity for you is salvation. This upcoming shift will be uncomfortable. Your current life may resist. People may question you. You may question yourself. But Gemini, you've already lived a version of life that others approved of. Now, you must decide if you're ready to live the one that sets you free. The truth is, your security was never real. It was a well-built illusion. And when you finally step beyond it, you'll discover something shocking. You were never safer than when you were following your heart. So as we approach this moment, begin gently untying yourself from the anchors you once mistook for stability. Let the version of you that chose safety know you're grateful for protection. And then tell that part of you, we're ready now. We're going further. You are not being asked to leap blindly. You're being asked to trust the intelligence of your longing, to believe that the voice calling you forward is not reckless. It is sacred. Gemini, there's a life waiting for you. One where you're not just adaptable, but aligned. One where you're not just clever, but courageous. One where you don't split yourself in two to survive, but integrate into wholeness to thrive. And on the last day of June, that life knocks. Gate 3. When the universe speaks in disguise, decoding the warnings you almost missed. Gemini, you've always been a sign of signs. You notice things others dismiss. A slip of the tongue, a flicker of emotion in someone's eyes, the symbolism hidden in a passing cloud. But the last few weeks have likely brought you something more. A different kind of noticing, a deeper hum beneath ordinary moments, as if life itself has been speaking in code. Have you felt it? The chance encounter that made your heart beat faster, though you couldn't explain why. The dream that felt so real you woke up feeling as though someone had visited you. The sudden disconnection from people who once seemed essential, or the strange magnetism drawing you to an idea, a place, a name. These are not coincidences. These are messages. Warnings, yes, but not of danger. Warnings of stagnation. Warnings of time running out on a version of life that no longer fits the shape of your soul. You see, the universe doesn't always shout. For Gemini, a sign ruled by Mercury, the messenger, divine wisdom often comes cloaked in metaphor. A missed train, a repeated number, a piece of music that breaks you open unexpectedly, a childhood memory resurfacing when you least expect it. All of these are calls. And the closer we get to the last day of June, the louder these whispers become. But here's the thing, Gemini, if you are not attuned, you may miss them. Not because you're blind, but because your mind is full of everyone else's voices, full of the shoulds and musts and logical plans, full of strategies and schedules and stories you've told yourself to stay in control. The universe has been trying to get your attention for a while now, but it knows you're clever, so it has resorted to subtlety, not out of cruelty, but because subtlety is sacred. It forces you to slow down, to feel, to stop analyzing everything and listen differently. Have you noticed how certain things keep repeating? A word, a theme, a symbol. That's not random. That's calibration. The universe is checking if you're listening, testing whether you're willing to follow a thread with no guarantee of outcome. And this is where many Geminis falter. You see the threads, you recognize the patterns, but you wait for confirmation, for a clear sign, for logic to prove what your intuition already knows. And while you wait, the thread unravels. But now, there is no more time to wait. The last day of June is not just symbolic, it is energetic. It marks a convergence where your soul's timeline intersects with the one you could be living. And in that sliver of overlap, you'll be asked, are you ready to leave the version of life you've outgrown? The signs will intensify. You may feel exhausted by conversations that once energized you. You may find yourself crying unexpectedly, or laughing inappropriately, or feeling moved by something small, a child's question, a line from a book, the sound of rain. These are not mood swings. These are soul surges. Your spirit is trying to push through the surface of your carefully managed life. One Gemini woman I work with, named Ray, shared how she kept seeing ravens every morning. First in a dream, then in real life, then carved into a doorframe in a cafe she hadn't planned to enter. She dismissed it at first, thinking it was coincidence, until one night, during a restless sleep, she dreamed of herself watching a version of her life unfold. One where she said yes to things she'd been too afraid to try. She woke up sobbing, not from fear, but from remembrance. The raven wasn't a warning of doom. It was a messenger of transformation. But she only understood that in hindsight, and that's the beauty and tragedy of cosmic messages. They always make perfect sense after the moment has passed. Gemini, this time, don't let it pass you by. There will be people who return to your life around this time. Some will arrive with charm and promises, others with guilt and apologies. Some may even say all the right things to pull you back into the life you've already left emotionally, even if not physically. These encounters are not tests of your empathy. They are tests of your discernment. Will you confuse nostalgia with destiny? Will you interpret comfort as compatibility? You must remember, what is familiar is not always what is right, and what is foreign is not always dangerous. In this period, you may also begin to feel like parts of your identity are crumbling. You may no longer resonate with the things that once defined you, your titles, your goals, even your relationships. This is not a crisis. This is clearing. The person you thought you were is making space for the person you are becoming. But here's the paradox. You will only become that new version when you start living as if she already exists. That means saying no to things that deplete you, saying yes to things that scare you, letting yourself rest without guilt, letting yourself desire without shame, trusting the feeling, even when you don't have the facts. You're not being asked to take reckless leaps. You're being asked to take sacred steps, to move toward the lightness that excites you and away from the heaviness that exhausts you. Even if you can't see where the path leads, The energy will guide you. Remember this, not all clarity is mental. Some clarity is cellular. You feel it in your body before your mind can explain it. It's that moment when your chest opens, when your breath deepens, when your pulse slows, not because you figured it out, but because you finally let go of needing to. That's the space where the real magic begins. As we near the last day of June, pay attention to how the universe speaks through the ordinary. Watch the patterns. Feel the shifts. Stay open, stay soft, and most importantly, stay curious. Curiosity is your superpower, Gemini. Use it not just to explore the world, but to explore yourself. Why does this place feel different? Why did that sentence hit so hard? Why do I keep thinking about that one decision I never made? Follow the threads, not with urgency, but with reverence. Every sign is part of a larger conversation. Every hesitation is a doorway. Every longing is a compass. And as the final moments of June unfold, something beautiful will happen. The universe will stop whispering and begin speaking clearly, just for you. When it does, don't second guess it. Don't ask 10 people what they think. Don't look for proof. Don't stall for more time. Just breathe and say yes. Gemini, the signs are not random. They're woven into your path like breadcrumbs back to your true self. Will you follow them? Gate 4, the decision window, when destiny won't wait anymore. Gemini, all your life you've lived with choices, and you've made them the way only a Gemini can. Thoughtfully, analytically, often from multiple angles at once. You've hesitated at the crossroads, not because you were lost, but because you could see too many paths, each one with its own rewards, each one with its own risks. But this time, there won't be many paths. There will be one, and it will not stay open for long. The last day of June is not just a poetic metaphor. It is a real energetic portal, a cosmic decision window, a brief moment where the lines between timelines blur, and you can choose to shift everything. Not incrementally, not eventually, but all at once. That's the urgency in the air you've been feeling. That strange pressure, like something's approaching but hasn't revealed itself yet. That internal restlessness that wakes you up at 2 a.m., heart pounding, for no reason you can name. That feeling is your soul bracing for a choice it knows is coming. You may find yourself suddenly presented with an opportunity, a message, an invitation, a bold idea you can't stop thinking about. And when it arrives, you'll know, because it won't just light up your mind. It will stir something in your body. Your chest will flutter. Your skin may tingle. Time might feel like it slows down. And for a second, you'll feel more alive than you've felt in years. That's when you'll need to act. Gemini, here's what no one tells you about windows of fate. They don't feel comfortable. They don't come padded with clarity and perfect timing. They arrive messy, emotional, irrational, and often at the worst possible moment. Because real transformation never waits for convenience. In fact, this window may even disguise itself as something disruptive. A breakup, a job ending, a conflict that exposes something too long ignored. It might not look like an opportunity at first. It may look like chaos. But beneath that chaos is correction, a redirection back to your truth. Do you remember the times in your life when you almost said yes to something that felt wild, bold, or impossibly right? Do you remember how you talked yourself out of it? How you needed more time, more signs, more approval? How you stayed because it was safer, even when every cell in your body screamed for movement? This is that moment, but louder, sharper, final. The universe has been patient with you, Gemini. Patient as you explored, postponed, rehearsed. But now it is intervening, and not out of punishment, but because you're ready, more ready than you know. This isn't about making a dramatic change just for the sake of it. It's about aligning with the life you've secretly been longing for, the one that whispers to you in quiet moments, in long showers, in the middle of traffic, when you dare to imagine something more. But the choice must be yours. No one can make it for you. Not your family, not your partner, not your mentors, not your past self who thinks caution is protection. Only you. And when the window opens, hesitation becomes its own kind of answer. That's the cruel beauty of these moments. They don't wait. If you ask for one more sign, it disappears. If you choose to sleep on it, it fades. If you let your fear vote louder than your intuition, the energy retracts. But if you're brave enough to say yes without knowing the outcome, you set off a chain reaction that shifts your timeline in the most extraordinary way. I once knew a Gemini man named Caleb. He had a stable life, teaching, a long-term relationship, a house in the suburbs. But he kept dreaming of an old bookstore in another city, one he used to visit in college. Every dream felt more vivid, more urgent. He began to notice signs, book titles, old friends calling, messages that felt oddly timed. On the last day of June 2 years ago, he got an email out of nowhere. The bookstore was hiring, and they remembered him. It made no sense to go. He had a mortgage, a partner, a good job, but something inside him said, this is it. He accepted the offer, moved across the country, left behind everything secure for something uncertain. 2 years later, he's not just managing that bookstore. He owns it. He's met a new love, deeper and more aligned than he ever imagined. He writes poetry at night and says, it was the one decision that changed every other part of my life. You may not be asked to leave your home or your job, but you will be asked to leave your comfort, your patterns, your excuses, and more than anything else, you'll be asked to leave behind your belief that you're not ready. Because Gemini, you are. You always have been. The only thing missing was a moment powerful enough to override your fear. This is that moment. The universe is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be present, to recognize the invitation when it comes, and to trust that the version of you who dreamed this dream is still alive, waiting to be chosen. When the door swings open, you will feel it. And when it does, the question won't be, is this safe? The question will be, is this mine? And if it is, your only job is to say yes. Even if your voice trembles, even if your hands shake, even if people don't understand. Because this is not a decision for the world. It's a decision for you. And the life that follows, it's not just different, it's destined. Gate 5, becoming the bravest version of yourself. This time, there's no going back. Gemini, this is it, the final gate. The moment where all the signs, whispers, dreams, and synchronicities converge into a single, undeniable truth. You're the only one who can claim the life that belongs to you. And this time, once you cross this threshold, there's no going back. Not because you'll be forced forward, but because you will no longer fit into the shape of the life you've outgrown. This is the moment where the soul reclaims its full height. Over the years, you become an expert at folding yourself, folding your dreams to fit into relationships that couldn't hold them, folding your truth to make others more comfortable, folding your wildness to avoid conflict. And each fold, though small and strategic, came with a price. You started forgetting what it felt like to be whole. But now, the creases are unfolding. The voice of your true self, the one you've ignored, feared, or silenced, is no longer a whisper. It's a roar in your heart, a trembling in your hands, a knowing in your gut. It says it's time. Time to stop living a curated life. Time to stop postponing the call. Time to stop being everything for everyone else and start being everything you came here to be. Gemini, the transformation that's coming isn't just about one choice. It's about how you choose from now on, with courage, with presence, with devotion to your own becoming. The last day of June may deliver a conversation, an email, a realization that knocks the wind out of you. And in that moment, something irreversible will happen. You will remember who you were before the world taught you to be smaller. You will not be able to unsee what you see. You will not be able to unknow what you feel. And though the mind may try to bargain, maybe next week, maybe later, maybe when things settle down, the soul won't wait, because it knows that this moment, this rare energetic alignment, is a door that doesn't stay open forever. You may feel afraid. That's expected. But this fear isn't the kind that says, don't move. It's the kind that says this matters. It's the fear you feel before the curtain rises. The fear before the confession, the leap, the kiss. It's the fear that tells you you are alive. Don't mistake aliveness for danger. Don't run from it this time. You've run before. You've edited yourself before. You pretended you didn't care, when in truth, you cared so deeply it scared you. But the pretending is over. One Gemini client, I'll call her Celine. shared something powerful during her reading. She said, "I used to think my life was fine, and it was, but now I see I wasn't living, I was narrating, telling the story from a safe distance instead of being inside it." Gemini, you've been narrating too. Cleverly, charmingly, brilliantly. But now, the story is calling you in. No more distance. No more delay. This isn't a rehearsal anymore. It's the real thing. This is the moment where you say yes. Not because you're sure, but because you're ready to find out. Yes to the move. Yes to the ending. Yes to the beginning. Yes to being misunderstood for a little while. Yes to being seen clearly for the first time. And with that yes, everything will begin to rearrange. Not instantly, but energetically. The universe will feel your commitment, and it will begin clearing paths you didn't even know were blocked. People will show up. Resources will align. Messages will land. But only if you say yes. Gemini, do you know what the bravest version of you looks like? She doesn't have all the answers. He doesn't wait until the fear is gone. They don't ask for permission to matter. The bravest version of you knows that the safest thing you can do is finally stop hiding. Because the real risk is not the leap. The real risk is staying still when your soul is begging you to fly. And I know it's tempting to stay, to hold on to what's familiar, even if it hurts, even if it limits, even if it shrinks you. At least it's known. But comfort is not the same as peace. Peace is what you feel when you are living in alignment. Peace is when your choices echo your desires. Peace is when your outer life matches your inner truth. And peace, Gemini, is what awaits you on the other side of this decision. Not right away, not without tremors, but steadily, surely, deeply. This transformation is not a rejection of who you've been. It's an evolution of who you are. You're not throwing your past away. You're integrating it into something wiser, richer, more whole. So as the last day of June approaches, I want you to do something sacred. Prepare. Clear a space in your room. Light a candle. Breathe. Ask yourself, what am I still pretending not to know? Write it down. Then ask, what is the life I would live if I believed I deserved it? Write that down, too. And finally, what is the one thing I can do now to begin becoming that version of me? When the moment arrives, and it will, you won't be caught off guard. You'll be ready. And when you say yes, Gemini, something ancient within you will rise. Not a new self, but your truest self. Finally, fully, fearlessly, here. Conclusion, you are the portal. Say yes to the life that's been waiting for you. Gemini, we've walked through the 5 gates together. We've spoken of courage, of crossroads, of the silent warnings wrapped in everyday signs. But above all, we've spoken of you. Not the version of you the world has grown used to, but the version that's been waiting quietly at the edge of your awareness, yearning to be chosen. You are not here to live a life of almosts, not here to rehearse endlessly while the curtain of destiny begs to rise, not here to keep your brilliance neatly folded, your spirit diluted for the comfort of others. You are here to cross thresholds, to change your mind and then change the world, to leave behind what once felt safe, but now feels too small. You are here to say yes. Yes to movement. Yes to meaning. Yes to the messy, wild, sacred beauty of an unfolding life. And this, Gemini, is your moment. The final day of June is more than a date. It's a cosmic doorway. But you are the portal. Your willingness, your readiness, your choice. That is the key. Don't wait for perfect clarity. Don't wait for everyone to understand. The version of you who chose safety was doing the best they could with what they knew. Honor them, then release them. And when the moment comes, let your soul be louder than your fear. You are not starting over. You are arriving. At last, if this message awakens something in you, trust that you were meant to hear it. Let it stir the boldest parts of your being. And if you feel called, I'd love for you to share in the comments. Have you felt the shift coming? What signs have been showing up for you? Your words may be the mirror another Gemini soul needs right now. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. There is more guidance ahead. Because once you step through the door, a new chapter begins. One we will walk together. Gemini, your life is calling. This time answer.